Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to a Friday morning edition of Dattitude. We're getting that much closer to football season. A week from now, we will be talking about the Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Derry, along with my friend Larry Holder, is here with me this morning from The Athletic. And we're going to talk about the Saints, and we're going to talk about the NFL. And, you know, after we talk about Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, and the lack of depth that the Saints have, Larry, I'm going to get your opinion. You can tell me how wrong I am. I am previewing a division a week. This week I did the NFC West, and I'll let you tell me how wrong I am.
I'm used to doing that. How long have we known each other? We've done that for
long enough for you to tell me how wrong I am often.
At least a decade, probably longer. So yeah, exactly. I'll have no problem doing it. And I liked like the lead up to the show. They even had it's like the fake, the clapping.
Exactly.
Applause. Like we're on a.
That's real.
Oh, definitely. Real. Yeah. All the huge crowds of people, like in the studio audience, like on Cheers or something.
No doubt. We're going to get into the Saints in a minute, and we're going to talk about Alvin Kamara in a minute, which is not the lead of today's news. But already my haters are out there. Casey Garber is replying to something I said yesterday, which Alvin Kamara on the Bayou Bet show, we talked about, Larry, how much time do we think that Alvin Kamara is going to get? And then how much time do we think if we were commissioner, Spencer Urquhart and I, if we were commissioner, how much time would he get? And so Casey's, I guess, pissed off at me because I said if I were commissioner, Alvin Kamara would get a year's suspension. But we'll get to that in just a minute. So the hater couldn't wait for me to come on this morning and give me some grief. Jerry is with us. Jerry's always with us. He's happy about Cam Jordan. That is the lead of today's story. Trav 504 is with us. If you want to comment or ask either Larry or myself a question, all you got to do is put it in the comments, and we'll show it.
Super fancy comment section. There we go. All right.
Bookie Brown's with us. He's here. He wants to get going. First of all, Jerry wants to know. He wants to know, will we see the Dunk and Holder podcast? I mean, it's kind of impossible now, right?
Yeah, that was a creation at The Athletic, and Jeff and I, obviously, we haven't worked together in 3 years, so that's not going to be the case. But I will say this: can I just basically usurp your?
You can, please, by all means.
You're joining Jim every Friday, except in August it's going to be. This will probably be my only appearance, but during the regular season, I will be joining Jim every Friday.
Every Friday morning. We told you last week on the podcast, because we didn't do a live show last week, but we told you on the podcast that Jeff Duncan has got some other obligations and won't be able to do Fridays. So I've got his counterpart. You know, we had Dunk for a while, and now we're going to have Holder.
I should go get the banner. I still have it. Like I had the whole thing. We should
have what?
I mean, you appeared enough. It should have been like Dunk, Derry, and Holder.
Well, I was on it a lot, but yeah. Anyway, it'll be Derry and Holder, or Holder and Derry, however you want to do it. On Fridays throughout the fall, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be talking Saints. We'll be talking NFL. We got a lot of comments already, so let's get to it here. David Dukas is super happy Cam is staying for the next 3 years, and will most likely retire as a Saint. So let's start. That is the lead. In case you didn't hear it this morning, Cameron Jordan, we're going to get to I know we got some other comments and a lot about Kamara going on. We'll get to them in just a minute, I promise. We're going to talk about Cam for a few minutes, and then we are going to get to Alvin Kamara, and I'm going to talk about what I said yesterday, and I know some people were pissed off about it, and too bad. That's the way that I think. If you don't like it, you're more than free to disagree with me. You don't have to stop listening to me. I had a couple people who said they will never listen to me ever again because I gave my opinion, and that's okay. But, yeah, maybe we're going to have to get Trombone Shorty on here. Jerry says every time he hears hurricane season, he thinks about Duncan.
I think the same thing too, which is funny. It's like that was a fun time, and especially I'd pick the theme song. So Jeff just kind of like,
well,
that sounds good.
I think maybe during the fall, maybe I'll replace that timer with the clapping. We'll replace with Trombone Shorty.
I'm down with that. I'm sure Troy will be fine with that. No
okay, well, let's ask him if it's okay, and if it is, we'll do it. All right, Cam Jordan. The news this morning is that he signed a 2-year extension. I saw the amount earlier. I think it's in the neighborhood. I think it's $27 million. I don't see it here in the story that I'm looking at, but I think it's $27 million, 2-year contract extension, which means He's got this year and 2 more, which means he'll go through the 2025 season. He is 34 years old now, which means, and he just turned 34. So he'll be 36 years old when the contract ends. In all likelihood, he gets to do, Larry, with a lot of players, almost every player, actually. Very few players get to do what Cam Jordan is going to do, and that is going to be to retire most likely with the team that drafted him and signed him first.
Yeah, and it's something that I know he was talking about publicly, that he didn't want to leave New Orleans, wanted to finish his career in New Orleans, and obviously one of the all-time great Saints. Doesn't matter which side of the football. He'll be in that, what do they call it, the Ring of Honor? I forget what the Saints call it, but he'll be up there just with along with like Drew Brees and some of the greats. And this, to me, here's the thing. He is, I would say, a borderline Hall of Famer. Like, he will be in the conversation. If his career ended today, he could be, say, a finalist if his career ended today. But right now, he's 23rd on the all-time sack list. He's actually 1 sack ahead of J.J. Watt. And he's less than 10 behind Von Miller. Of course, all those guys are from the 2011 draft class. So if Cam can be productive, even semi-productive, these next 3 years, stay healthy, be on the field, he could climb, say, even past Ricky Jackson in the sack list. He could climb into maybe the top 15, like even higher than that. So that would firmly kind of entrench him in that conversation and into the Hall of Fame. So I think that's probably part of it, but he can also still play. So I think that's part of it too. And look, we know the Saints, they like to, if they have the opportunity, be loyal to the people that are loyal to them. And a lot of times the Saints, going back to, say, that Super Bowl era, they were maybe a little loyal to some of those players too long, and they kind of got old. But Cam Jordan, is he getting older? Sure. Is his production a little bit down? I wrote about it actually this morning in analyzing the deal at The Athletic. His production is a little bit down. Sacks numbers were a little bit down. His pressure percentage the last 4 years has dropped actually pretty dramatically. But still, he's a guy who plays every down and someone you can count on for at least being there, and sack totals being productive every down player. So it keeps him on the field and keeps him really in this stage of his career. And I know the Saints want this for him, kind of in a Hall of Fame trajectory. And if he keeps going the way he is, he will be enshrined in Canton.
You know, Larry, I think that Cam is a guy, 80% Cam Jordan. 80%, when I say 80%, 80% of maybe the Cam Jordan we had 3, 4, 5 years ago is still a really damn good player.
Agreed. I mean, he's better than so many players. Like any team would want him. That's the thing. Like, say if he was let go, any team would want him. I mean, he made the Pro Bowl last year. I mean, maybe part of it was his name, but he's deserved it because there's been years where he didn't make it, and you kind of earn your way in. But still, I think that this is something that it's all this money's guaranteed, by the way. So it's not like he's going anywhere. Right. And I'm sure the way that the Saints structure contracts, some of this will be pushed down. It probably frees up money going forward. So there's a method to the madness, but they want to be loyal to a player. They probably look at him in the same way as Drew Brees. It's like, hey, Cam, you play as long as you want, and we'll let you go out on your own terms. They did the same thing with Drew Brees, and that's kind of a rare thing in the NFL. Not super rare for the Saints, but it's a rare thing across the league.
Jim Derry here with my new Friday buddy, Larry Holder. Again, Larry is here. This is the only appearance he'll have in August because he's got some I don't know if y'all knew this, but Larry is a tennis pro. Okay,
so not a pro. At one point in my life, like probably 12 years ago, I was rated high enough to be a pro, but I've aged, and I'm still a good player, but I wouldn't be like a tennis.
You would kick my ass, so.
Well, yes. I mean, look, being a pro and kicking your ass is like
it is what it is.
And like cacti. Like,
I kick your ass in fantasy baseball. You could kick my ass in tennis. It's all good. It's fine.
That depends on the look. That we could have a whole media conversation on fantasy baseball.
Yeah, who knows?
Us dorks.
We probably will in a press box at some point in the near future. All right. We're gonna move on and talk about Alvin Kamara. And again, yesterday, if you feel free. By the way, The question this morning, and I'd love to hear all your comments. We got some already, and I'm going to show them in just a minute. I got some people that really don't like me now. I was on the Bayou Bet show.
Now,
well, I got some people who haven't liked me for decades.
right.
But my wife's still with me. My kids are still living here. So far, at least the thing that's really important is working out for me. But we have some comments, and I said yesterday, the questions are, and you again, feel free to answer in the comment section, and we'll show them on the air. If you don't agree with me, it's okay. We can still be friends if you don't agree. You don't have to shut me off forever. If you want to, that's fine too. I'm still going to probably sleep tonight. But the questions are, how long do you think Alvin Kamara will get suspended? And if you were the commissioner, how long would you personally suspend Alvin Kamara if it were you? Now, take out the Saints fan in you when you do this. I don't want to hear, oh, we can't lose them. I wouldn't suspend them at all. No. You have to be the commissioner. You have to be fair and as impartial as you're humanly possible, which is hard to do. So my answers were, I thought he would get, I think, we don't know yet, Friday morning as we speak. We might know by the time, usually breaking news like this comes out after we talk about something about 5 minutes after I hit the button. So that there's a good chance it'll happen today. But my answers are, I think he will be suspended for 6 games. Maybe reduced down to 5, maybe it's 8 and gets reduced to 6. It's going to be somewhere in that ballpark, is my opinion, knowing how the NFL works. But what people didn't like is, I said, trying to be impartial. If it were up to me, if I were the commissioner, from that video, I could care less about what he got charged with or what he's going to end up settling for or whatever. From that video, you cannot let things like that slide. And I would have suspended him for an entire year. And I know a lot of people think that's harsh. But, Larry, I'm interested in your opinions, and we'll show some of the ones we have on here.
I think he will be suspended 6 games. I don't care that he went and saw Roger Goodell. So what? I mean, it is what it is. I don't care what his story or his side of the story. I mean, he wouldn't have settled. If he thought he could have won in court, he would have settled. That's no. So look, 6 games. I think he'll get 6 games. And I think he deserves 6 games.
Okay.
I'm just going by how the NFL suspends people. I mean, the NFL only suspended Deshaun Watson 11 games. Deshaun Watson did a lot worse.
That's true.
So, like a lot worse. And let's go way back to when there was video of someone, a running back, punching someone, and it was Ray Rice punching out his girlfriend in an elevator. That is worse than punching out a guy. Let's be honest.
That is true, but that was
he was suspended at first. Well, this was way back when they didn't have the same rules. Once the video came out, they suspended him indefinitely. He was cut and never played again. So, but this is different. It's a different set of circumstances. I would say this isn't as serious as that. I mean, it's not light, but it's not as serious. I mean, here's
my favorite comment so far that we have, and I purposely waited to show it, so I hope he's still watching. But Andy, I don't know if it's Levine or Levin, but Andy, you had the best comment so far. He says 6 games, but John Gruden is in town, so it's going to be 8. I mean, by the way, if you haven't heard that as well, John Gruden is in town. At least that's the word, that he is going to be around Saints camp. Eric Fields, if I can show it here. Eric Fields says 6 or more games sounds reasonable to him. So this is a little bit more reasonable group this morning. Twanette says she loves Alvin Kamara. I'm not saying I don't love Alvin Kamara. I appreciate everything he's done for this team. And obviously, part of the thing that sucks when you're trying to make a decision like this is you're talking about a guy who's never been, not only has he never been any kind of problem before, but you're talking about a guy who it just seems like a happy-go-lucky kind of stays home when he's in New Orleans and probably playing video games and whatever. I mean, it just seems like a fun kind of guy. I don't even think he goes out a whole lot from everything that I understand. So anything can happen. But when you have video like this, Larry, that shows, again, the NFL can't get away from this video. If they didn't have video and it was just, he said, that'd be one thing. Maybe he could get 3 or 4 games. But I think this video, if they go light on this, it's going to come back to haunt him.
Well, I don't think even like the video makes it more in your face, and it's hard to say, oh, well, he's not going to, he should get 2 games. Like that, but I still think the NFL is pretty clear cut when it comes to something like this, whether there's video or not. They go by what happens in court. Alvin Kamara basically pleads no contest, essentially saying, all right, I did it. Let's move on. I'm settling with this guy. There's pictures of what they did to him, whether there's video or not. But so I just think that it's not going to any kind of case that would involve the same sort of charges, whether there's video or not. I think the NFL would have treated it the same. They just have more backing to say, all right, we're going to stick with what we do. You could appeal. It doesn't matter. It's even more damning than you say, but still it just kind of look, he pleaded down to like misdemeanors. So it's not felonies. So look, I think 6 games would be as maximum as they go. I think that's what they're going to do. So, it's kind of uniform. Like you're looking at it saying, all right, this is brutal. You shouldn't have done this. It's like 6 against 1.
Right.
And Kamara's in there doing it. I get that. And if he was Joe Citizen, he'd probably be in jail.
Oh, not probably.
Right.
He would be in jail.
Yeah. So, you could kind of buy your way out of jail when you have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So,
if he were Alvin Citizen, he would 100% be in jail. A couple questions here, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Tell me if I'm not. Is it Twinet? Is it Toynet? I think it looks like Twinet. I mean, living in New Orleans, I'm assuming that the TOI is Twa. He looks so ready at training camp. He does. He looks, from all accounts, he looks as good as he's looked. And I think once he gets past this, I think part of the reason why he had as many issues last year is because this was kind of hanging over his head. He didn't look like himself, but he still must face the consequences. And she says it's Tunet. Okay. Well, Tunet, I agree with you. And Josh asked if he makes an appeal, will that reduce it at all? I mean, I don't think we really know the answer to that. He's going to appeal most likely, unless if it's 4 games or less, he probably won't.
Goodell is the judge in the appeal. So if he makes a suspension, it's going to be
Tunet.
It's going to be hard to overturn that unless he recuses himself. I doubt that happens. I mean, it's and you're talking about, all right, let's talk about Kamara in terms of production. Like he's going to miss some time. We know that. So I could tell you Kamara in some of the running back outlook stories I've done with the Athletic over the last, say, year, 2 years, Kamara has fallen off of the map badly.
100%.
And
I agree.
I'm like, you hear the hot topic of running backs getting paid and now their value has diminished. I would point to 1 or 2 contracts as a big reason why teams are not willing to pay running backs as high as they used to. One is Alvin Kamara. The other one is Ezekiel Elliott. They both got huge money at the same time. Neither one of them produced fully to what they got paid. And I forget which running back it was during training camp because everybody's saying, running backs are trying to defend themselves. But one running back I'd like to say was Travis Etienne from the Jaguars. Basically went kind of the contrarian route saying, hey, if we want to get paid higher, you've got to be versatile. Like, so it made more sense to pay someone like Kamara big money, like, say, Christian McCaffrey, because they're versatile. Kamara just fell off. The Saints didn't use him in that same versatile role. They used him more as a runner, and so that didn't look good. And Zeke Elliott's not a big guy in the passing game. And you look at the guys who are trying to get paid, Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, they're more running backs, not as used heavily in the passing game. If you want to get paid big money, you got to do more than just be north-south. So Kamara has fallen off the map. He usually needs a good complement. A, you needed Jamal Williams to come in just to be that good complement. And B, you needed him to come in because you knew Kamara was going to miss time. So I think that dynamic, whether Kamara misses time or they're together, that group should be better. Just because of the addition of Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara. When he's there, you can use him as a receiver more, be versatile, and I think that will aid the Saints greatly because Kamara was at his best when they had a viable 1A. When, like, say, Ingram was viable. Like last couple of years, that was not the case.
There's no question about that. Charles Broom brings up a great point. The last thing Goodell wants is a stream of players having face-to-face meetings on discipline, so he foresees no mercy.
Now,
You know
people
what?
go up to the NFL office to plead their case. I mean, that happens, and this isn't like the first or the second or the 15th or the 20th time.
No, it's just it's a star player that did it, so that's why it's getting more play.
Well, the star player, yeah, right, and he had the means to go up there and do it, and Kamara. Look, if you want to try, it's better than not trying to get things.
Which is why I don't think he's going to appeal. I think he probably. My guess is Alvin Kamara knows what he's going to get. I bet he already knows. I think Goodell probably gave him a good structure and says, look, I'm not ready to officially say what you're going to get, but this is about what it's going to be.
Well, there's also precedent. I mean, that's
correct.
Something like this. That's what it is.
That's why I think it's going to be 6 games, and you would know better than me. You're saying the same thing, so I think 6 is probably about.
Like if it fell to 4, I'd be like, okay, well then that's
right. You wouldn't be surprised. I think the minimum is 4.
That would be a good case scenario.
100%. Let's look at the schedule because let's talk about what the Saints are going to have to go through without Alvin Kamara. And I have our team previews. We won't be doing the Saints. In case you don't know, we're doing one team a day, Tuesday through Friday, a division a week until the start of the regular season. The Saints will be the last one we do. They are on Friday, September the 8th. So when Larry and I are getting together to talk about the season opener, it'll be the same day that we have the Saints preview. Who knows? Maybe we'll just bottle them all up together. But this is what you're looking at, Saints fans. And to me, even though the Saints have the easiest schedule, it's a formula I derived from Caesars Sportsbook over-under totals. I think win totals from last year are almost irrelevant because when you're talking about going into the next season, teams are different. So I derived this. It's a long, drawn-out formula, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you what it is. But
I'll be like, I'll echo that, saying case in point, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Correct. There you go.
Yeah.
But by this schedule, the Saints have the easiest schedule in the NFL, but I don't necessarily think it starts all that easy. And the reason being, Larry, 4 of your first 6 games are on the road. So if he gets a 6-game suspension, you're talking about having maybe your top offensive threat without him, without those 4 games on the road at Carolina. I'm telling you, Carolina is going to be tough this year. I think their defense is super good. We'll talk about them more later on, but I think Green Bay is going to be much tougher than anybody thinks. Going to New England is no picnic, and Houston is what it is. And then you open the season at home against Tennessee and home at Tampa Bay. But to me, it's a tough stretch. It's a stretch where the Saints need to go at least 3-3 to get out of that, to be in a good spot to maybe win 10 games.
If you're going to ask me to kind of go through that schedule, that doesn't look super tough to me. I think it's more about how the Saints are themselves, less about the opponents, because I would argue that that every one of those games is winnable. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Tennessee, they wish they didn't have to start Ryan Tannehill. They drafted 2 quarterbacks, so they don't have a ton of faith in them, and they're kind of on the downslide. I know they just got DeAndre Hopkins, but at Carolina, I'm with you. Obviously, it's all going to depend on how quickly Bryce Young gets into the fold.
Yeah, for sure.
And because I think in the division, I think Atlanta is going to be sneaky tougher than what people think. So if you're going to talk about that, but then you looked at Green Bay, how is Jordan Love going to acclimate? So in New England, I still think they're shaky. Tampa could be the number 1 pick overall in the draft.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And then they'll be New England, who knows? They might see Mac Jones for 4 games and go back to Bailey Zappi. They were chanting for him last year. And then at Houston, again, another rookie quarterback in Houston, just bad too. So look, I think it's more about, all right, if the Saints can get their act together, they can win without Kamara in those games. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So, I think it's pretty favorable. And look, the strength of schedule, just the way it's looking, it helps that you play the division, that the division is bad. So that kind of changes things. Like, I think I'm with you that Carolina could be a little bit better than what people think. I think Atlanta is going to be better than what people think. So that's going to be tougher. It's not going to be some kind of cakewalk, really. I think you got to play good football on them. It's more on the Saints rather than the opponents.
I don't disagree with that at all. But I think that the NFC South having the easiest schedule, and actually Tampa Bay's got a fairly I don't want to say tough, but definitely a tougher schedule than anyone else in the division. So
the first place Tampa Bay schedule.
yeah, well, they're going to be a nightmare. Baker Mayfield, good luck with that. You go from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield.
Why not Kyle Trask, man? Get on the Trask train.
They're going to be getting on the Kyle Trask train before too long. I promise you. JJ tells us hello. He wants to know what's going on. He said he's listening to Cabo, is watching the way.
JJ, man, look, I've known you for a while, dude. Look, go do something else, man.
That's what I was thinking.
Pina colada.
That's what I was thinking. Charles is saying the Saints play the way the other teams play. I've seen the best number one contenders, and they lose to a 1-10. I don't know if you remember this, but the Saints are really good. I think this is like 7-8 years ago. They played an 0-9 Rams team, and I think the Saints were like 6-3 at the time and lost. And so you're right, absolutely.
They've run into those follies with the Rams before. In 11 they lost to a hapless Rams team, and then they went on a roll. And yeah, it's funny how
Steven Jackson rushed for like 180 yards or something.
Yeah, it's funny how the old pesky Rams could.
I don't even like looking at those uniforms. They just drive me insane. Daniel says he doesn't think Atlanta is going to be that good. I'm not going to give too many spoiler alerts. The NFC South is the last division I'll be doing in my predictions. And so I don't want to get too many, but I do. I think there's a chance. I'm not predicting this yet, but I think there's a chance that 3 teams in the NFC South, because of their schedule, you look at the quarterbacks that all these teams have to play, and they're not very good. I think there's a chance 3 teams in the NFC South have a winning record. So I think there's a lot of sleeping on the NFC South. And again, most of it is because of their opponents, which aren't that good. Look what Philadelphia did with the easiest schedule in the league last year. They made it work for them. Tonette says she saw the video outside the elevator, victim's injuries. It's bad, and he went too far. Maybe out for 8. We'll see. JJ says he loves us, man.
There you go.
So anyway,
that's one for the references on a resume.
Good transition comment here, because I'm ready to move on to we're gonna end the show with Larry pouring through my NFC West picks and telling me how wrong I am. But Daniel says his biggest concern of depth is linebacker and offensive line. Certainly, to a mind, offensive line is number 1. There is no question that offensive line has jumped to the number 1 spot. Lack of depth there. I am going. Doug Mouton asked me to go down on 4th down and 4 on Sunday night, and he's going to ask me for my prediction of over under. And I've been on the over train of 9.5 throughout the offseason and really until about a week ago. But I am super concerned right now. The loss of Trey Turner, whom they signed for great depth. And now here we are again with Andrus Peat, which is going to mean James Hurst is probably going to have to play left guard, which means there's no one behind Penning at left tackle. It scares the hell out of me if you're expecting the Saints to be good this year.
Well, I mean, offensive line, I totally agree that it's not what it used to be. And you need everyone to be right. And then the Saints could be, say, top 10 offensive line. I mean, I'll put it that way. And but we haven't seen everybody right physically or even play on the field in a little bit. So I definitely think that. And I mean, at linebacker, I know Andrew Dial just went out for the year, and he's a complimentary piece, but you have Demario Davis and who else? I know Pete Werner. He's got some upside, but you need him to be on the field all the time too. So here's the thing: the most indispensable player on the team is Demario Davis. Like, you don't have anybody to fill in that spot. I would argue, even at quarterback, you got better depth. At wide receiver, you got better depth.
Oh, I think you got great depth at quarterback.
Right, exactly. Like cornerback, like even you lose Marshawn Lattimore, you still have viable corners. Like,
agreed.
Demario Davis is easily the most indispensable player on the team. If you lose him, you're in trouble. Like, you're in big trouble.
Does it worry you that he's getting a little long in the tooth? What is he, 34 now? 30?
He's still playing at a all-pro level. That's the thing. Like, it's funny you're seeing, like, him specifically. Like, you're seeing kind of like we just talked about Keem Jordan. You're seeing like a little bit of a drop-off from him. Demario Davis is just sustaining. It's almost like he got better with age.
I agree.
That's rare. Because we've seen a lot of years middle linebackers decline with age, like a Vilma kind of, he was beat up and then you could see it slip. Curtis Lofton, you could see it slipped. Right. I remember the Saints tried to sign, and they did, James Laurinaitis, and he like fell off the cliff in like 2 seconds.
That's right.
Like DeMario got better, and he is right now, you could argue among all teams, like he's a top 3 inside linebacker, like middle linebacker. So he's like, you have nobody that would compare to him on this team. So he's been very durable. The Saints have to hope he's still very durable.
So what you're saying is the Saints have done a good job signing free agent linebackers from the Jets.
Well, they traded for Vilma.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So
they did trade for Vilma.
There's that. But DeMario, I remember when DeMario signed, and Jets fans, like they were ticked that the Jets let him get away, and DeMario made him show it right away. And he's only gotten better. Like to me, I would point to him, and he hasn't been around nearly as long as say Cam Jordan, and doesn't have the name recognition as Sam Mills and the Field Mouse, and Vaughn and all those guys. But he's one of the best defenders in Saints history. I mean,
this may sound like not that big of a deal, but I think it is. I think that Andrew Dial, losing him, to me, Dial was going to be the next Caden Ellis. I think he was going to come in and kind of be that guy. And I know he was a special teams guy up to this point, but I think, you look at the leap that Ellis took last year and then got paid and left. I think that Dial could have filled that role. And to me, that's a loss.
Yeah, no, Dial was definitely a player who was getting better. I know that. I'm not there every day like I used to be, but I know they liked him a couple of years ago while I was still there every day in Saints locker room. And he's a guy that they were certainly leaning on to be a piece of this team, whether it's complementary piece on defense and then special teams. So yeah, losing him when you don't have a lot of depth of proven guys at all. I mean, he's the one of the guys you thought, okay, we can rely on this guy, and now he's not going to be there. So that's a tough break.
How did you and I get locked in the basement?
I'm in my house, but my house, it's kind of,
we don't like that realistically have basements.
My house is literally tiered, so there's a couple of stairs behind me, but my camera's it's not level. So I should know, like my wife does TV. My camera you should not be seeing the ceiling, but oh well, I'm breaking.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay that we see a ceiling. You could, you're gonna, you could always get a green screen, and if you want.
Well, I need some of that Dattitude.
It costs $50
to get me a screen. I mean, like I said, Duncan
Holder. I'll buy you a green screen. It costs like $50. I mean, you're gonna cut
$50, dude.
Okay, I hear you. You got a point. You definitely have a point. Jason says he wants to know what happened before the video picks up. What difference does it make? The dude had made no contact with Alvin, no physical contact with Alvin Kamara whatsoever. So there is zero, and I mean zero excuse for what Alvin Kamara did. It's AK's story. There's no story. It's a video. He kicked the dude in the face while he was unconscious. There's no story. That's the story.
And do you realize law enforcement has video? Like, it's not like they
correct. There's other video that we haven't seen, which is fine.
It's a casino. I mean, there's video everywhere.
The dude, the victim was a dumbass, was a drunk dumbass. There's zero question about that as well. I mean, I don't think anyone debates the guy was a drunk dumbass who was a pain in the keister and aggravating the hell out of Alvin Kamara and the guys he was with. But that is zero. I don't care that we're looking at a misdemeanor. Yeah, we're looking at a misdemeanor because Alvin Kamara has big time, big name, big money attorneys. So, I mean, that's why it's a misdemeanor. If Larry or I or Jason, who sent me that message, or Jerry or anyone else who's in this message thread or watching the show would have done the same thing, we'd have been in jail with a felony conviction. We'd have already been convicted and been in jail. I promise you. So, I mean, just because it's a misdemeanor doesn't mean that Roger Goodell thinks anything differently. And Jason says, P.S., he thinks he's guilty. Well, I mean, are you an attorney? I mean, maybe you are. You're starting to sound like one. So I don't know. All right, let's move on. Almost time to close out the show. So before we do, I promised it. I'm going to offer my predictions for the NFC West. Again, you can go back, find them on any of these same social media channels. You can find it on bet.noah.com. If you're listening to the podcast, Easiest way is probably to go to either Facebook or YouTube, search for bet.nola.com or NOLA.com for that matter, and you can find our shows. That's the best way. All right, here are my predictions for the NFC West, and I've got a couple semi-surprises in there. First of all, I think the Arizona Cardinals absolutely stink, and they're going to stink. Kyler Murray, doesn't look like he's going to start the season at quarterback. He's still recovering. I don't think they're going to be any rush to throw him in there anyway, so I'm just writing them off. I think the 49ers are going to win this division, and I'm sort of picking them the same way I picked the Jaguars almost in the AFC South last week, almost by default, because I don't think anyone else in the rest of the division is any good, really. That being said, there's value on the Rams at +8. I think it was 825 to win the division, which means that if you bet $10 on the Rams to win the division and they win the division, you get 82.50. So I think there's major value there. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but I'm saying there's major value there. And frankly, I just don't believe in Geno Smith. I know he had a really good year last year. I don't see him repeating what he's doing, even with the great receivers that he has. And with Kenneth Walker, I think on the potential to be kind of a breakout kind of running back, I just don't see it. I think Seattle's defense is weak. I'm definitely not a Pete Carroll believer. I'm dropping them down to what I thought they were going to do last year. 49ers lost some on defense. I got them at 10-7. I do not think they will win the Super Bowl, and I do not think +900 is a value for them. Mediocre division. I think the 49ers win it.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are the favorite. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, that's, to me, apparent. You got to see, though, with the 49ers, it sounds like Brock Purdy's healthy. Was he a 4, 5, 6 game wonder? I think you have to wonder there.
For sure.
But I think their defense is very stout. They've got some weapons. I think Deebo Samuel improves. You got Kittle, you got McCaffrey, so I think they're in good shape there. But yeah, look, and I'm wondering, the big question with the Rams is Stafford. I mean, is he done really? Because if you look at just kind of some of the weapons that they have, they defensively they're not super impressive. I mean, they're Aaron Donald and everyone else really. And Aaron Donald's the year last year, he kind of had a down year, and this might be his last year. Cam Akers actually came on a good bit last year at running back toward the end of the season, but that was with backup quarterback. So, I think Seattle's a better team than the Rams. I just think that I would flip those, but I don't have confidence that Seattle is going to repeat and make the playoffs. I mean, that's,
I guess that was my main thing more than anything.
Yeah. I need to see it more than 1 year with Geno Smith, because he was a roller coaster ride. He would be great for 4 weeks, then kind of be a little head scratching, then be great again for 4 weeks. Like, he was a big time roller coaster. They've got weapons in the receiving core, and they got Bobby Wagner back on defense. I think he can still play. They got Devin Witherspoon as a cornerback to kind of help that defense. So, and look, Tyreek Woolen was one of the best corners in the NFL last year, and 6 interceptions. His passer rating against was one of the best in the league. So
it was still 23rd overall in defense, I believe, is what it was. And so that leads me to big cause for concern when it comes to the Seahawks. And what else shows me is Vegas is usually pretty good with their over-under win totals. They wanted to do 8.5 so bad, but they couldn't because they knew if they put 8.5, they were going to get over bets. And so they want to limit their liability, but you got to bet $130 to win 100 to bet the under 9. So that tells you what Vegas thinks. Vegas thinks that Seattle's going to win 8 games. I have them under that, but I certainly like the under 9. Again, -130. That's kind of
I think that's fair, because I think they kind of smoke and mirrored their way into some of those and some wins. So yeah, I think that's fair. It's going to come down to if Seattle can stop someone better. I mean, look, because you saw in the playoffs they got exposed big time there.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Arizona, look, they're already debating Caleb Williams or Drake May, and what do they do with Kyler Murray, and That's a total mess. I mean,
what a mess that team is.
Yeah,
Jonathan, I don't know what Jonathan Gannon thought he would. I know you just want to be a head coach, but to me, Larry, sometimes you just say, you know what? That's probably not the best place for me to get my first gig because, people just all the time when they're talking bad about Dennis Allen. Look, I fell into the trap. I had a lapse of about 3 or 4 weeks where I got on Dennis Allen bashing train and realized, you know what? You still got to give this guy a chance. But people love to spot out Dennis Allen's record. Well, he was coaching for a really bad team when he was in Oakland. And so Jonathan Gannon's going to have the same kind of stigma. If he has 2 years of 3-14 and if lucky enough to go maybe 6-11 next year, I mean, he's going to have that awful record. And Jonathan Gannon can't win any games. His record's awful. Well, it's not his fault. So why would you take a job like that?
Well, it's funny. You mentioned Dennis Allen, and he took one of the 32 jobs. Didn't work out for him with the Raiders. Sean Payton turned the Raiders down and waited a year before he took his first head coaching job. So, but look, it's, sometimes the iron, you got to take it when it strikes. I get it. If it's
he's
not
a young guy, though. He's a super young guy with a great future. I mean, I think he could have waited.
Maybe, but it's look, when that job's there and they're hanging in front of you and they're going to pay you and you're the guy, and it's hard to turn down. So it's rare that you turn it down. It really is.
I will say this. If he does turn them in, if Jonathan Gannon turns the Cardinals into something, and let's just say that if they even win like 7 games, if he wins 7 games with that group, I think that the future is super bright for them, and he can show the world, hey, I'm going to be a great coach. So
that might not be what they want them to be, though, because they might want a new quarterback. If they win 7 games,
want Caleb Williams.
Then they're looking at the 3rd or 4th quarterback in the draft. But I mean, that means you're actually getting better quarterback play. But yeah, that is something. It all comes down to what do you want to do with Kyler Murray? I mean, Kyler Murray would be the first one out the door as opposed to Gannon, unless he totally goes Nathaniel Hackett and is totally awful. But
well, Sean Payton told you how awful he was.
Well, your eyes could tell you, and Sean Payton, everything he said was true, but whatever this code nonsense is, give me a break. That's too bad. Here's the code. You sucked. You needed to get fired, and someone called you out on it. Too bad. So, and a guy with all the kinds of credentials called you out on it. So what? Poor you.
I know. You and Duncan are like, y'all want to go like hang out at the beach with Sean Payton. I mean, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Sean and I have had our back and forths in life. So yeah, I mean, if I thought he was wrong, look, did he get died? Look, I've talked to him over the years where, man, he will say that stuff off the record, but I think he got super comfortable with the guy he's had a really good relationship with for years and years with Jarrett Bell. He's talked to him about big time issues off the field and has leaned on him. And I think Sean Payton got really comfortable and just kind of got diarrhea of the mouth. I mean,
he's Sean Payton.
I love how everybody's talking about the coaches. He ripped the people who just hired him.
Yeah.
Like that's getting like no play.
I just, I have a problem with a guy who he picked on Cat so much when he was here. And,
Sean?
Yeah. I mean, and certain people that he picked on were people that wouldn't necessarily fight back. I don't know. He rubbed me the wrong way a few times. I know everybody loves Sean Payton in New Orleans, so you can't talk bad. You think
I don't know about that, but look,
I'm not talking about us in the media. I'm talking about just Joe Q fan.
Well, I don't know. Some people think he's a traitor.
Well, speaking of the traitor, if that's what you want to call him, guess who we're preview? No, I know you're not. I'm not. I could call him whatever I want. At least today, maybe tomorrow.
So can I, but I'm just saying whatever.
All right. Well, Tuesday we're going to be begin our previews of the AFC West, and by alphabetical order, the Denver Broncos are first. So Sean Payton will be our preview on Tuesday. So next week it's the AFC West, one of the better divisions in football. The defending champion, the Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers. Will they do anything? Will they be able to finally move off of that 10-7 record and will they be able to get in the playoffs and win? That's going to be a big question. We're going to find out next week, along with the Las Vegas Raiders, who I think are probably going to have a tough season unless Jimmy G just becomes the next coming of Drew Brees, which I doubt. All right, Larry, thank you so much for joining the show, and I am looking forward to our tete-a-tete. And dare I say, I'm going to bring back the pixie dust.
Oh, I'm sure you will. You bring back all the old gimmicks. There's no doubt.
I didn't bring out the roasting. I didn't roast you today. I mean,
You'll bring back the black and gold today's from like a decade ago.
I mean, look, we were 8 years younger then, so we probably looked a lot better. You had like,
what year is it? 2023. We started that in 2012.
Yeah, but I didn't become host of that show until 2015.
True.
So I don't have all my roasting stuff. Is 8 years old. We looked a lot younger. I actually was a lot thinner then too.
I didn't have gray stubble.
Looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. So all you out there, make sure you come back. Now look, I'm gonna have guests throughout every Friday. We're gonna be on every Friday. I think Doug Mouton is coming on next Friday. So I don't know what's going on with Doug and I. We have some kind of weird relationship going on right now. I was on his show Wednesday. I'm going to be on his show Sunday night, and I think he's coming on my show Friday. It just so happened that way. I promise you. But anyway, we're going to have guests from around the New Orleans area, media experts leading up until when Larry comes back. I think it's September the 8th. I don't remember. It was the first you got that tennis thing, right? September 1st.
I've got 3 weekends of state tennis tournaments. Okay, I'm like, it's insanity.
I think we decided September 8th, which is the Friday before the Saints regular season starts, and when Larry will become the regular Friday guest on Dattitude. And I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Good times.
All right. I promise you, I won't mess with you too bad. It's just,
pretty sure I can take it.
Maybe we can have Billy Nungusser on the show.
Wow. That is an inside baseball joke there.
All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And as always, you can catch my full podcast with my monologue and finish. I don't know what song we're going to wrap up the show with today. We'll have to figure that out. I haven't even figured it out yet. So you can come on. Podcast will be on the air. Let's see. It's 10 minutes to 11 as I wrap up the show today. About 45 minutes from now, you will have my full podcast wherever you get your podcast, on Apple, Google, Spotify, and the like. Until next Friday, we will see you later. Everybody have a great week. Peace and love, my friends.